Okay, I spoke about surviving broken mothers. I also want you to know that there's so many layers to it. There's also the key factor that most parents and children or people that are products of it almost don't recognize. They may not even know that many years in their life they were what we call parentified children. These are children that takes on roles that such of that of a parent. In most of our African American families, not all, that's kind of so common that the older sibling takes on the immediate role of the mother or the father. It's kind of common, more often than none. But it's not too bad when you still have healthy parents. Some may do it because they both are working and trying to make the matters of the household better, be it between jobs, be it between other things to keep the household running. But you also have those some that are just concerned about their own lives. They're only concerned about their next entertainment, their next situation. They are so engulfed in their personal lives that their children are almost the last thing, if at all, anything to be thought about. Such was the case in my family. My father, I love him dearly, but he was the narcissist of narcissists. He and I speak about it now. We laugh a bit about it, but we also know it to be a fact. And in most cases, when we are privately together, he owns it. But as such narcissists, they love to keep their image up. That is all about what people view them rather than what it is. And in many instances, my dad would do just that. There was times when in my household, our utilities were off on a regular. My uncle, my dad's brother, in fact, he often shares the story that he would bring a kerosene heater over to keep our heat going. Now, mind you, again, looking on the outside, you see a man pulling up with a Cadillac, white wall tires, from head to toe sharp. Some clothes were even actually made, designerly made for him. My mother clothes stayed running out of the closet. But if you saw us, we did not compliment that on no shape, form, or fashion. And while that was going on, we were still surviving. We made fun out of things, of course, but it wasn't always fun. And you all know, coming up as children, we had what we called the Kruskies in our neighborhood. Kruskies was another cousin of Kmart. And God forbid you come into school with an outfit from Kruskies. Boy, oh boy, you got that from Kruskies. And it wasn't just a matter of that the name brand as it was that it shared that either your economy, your income, your household family did not have the best experience going on in their lives. Okay. Most interesting, I promise you this, if you went to any of our household, myself included, to my natural sister Tina, Taurus, and Tony, all of us got closets full of clothes. And this is going to be the reason why. Like most people in most situations, when you don't have enough or don't have a lot, you make sure that's a continual effort of yours. I want to get this. When I get on my own, I'm going to have this. But in fact, that was a case. And while I'm laughing now, that was not a laughing matter then. The fact that you can have your priorities so crazy is ridiculous. So Cousin Danny, when you would not see me around, it wasn't a matter that I did not want to be around, because those who really know our family, Tanya was that one. Tanya keeps it going. Tanya gets the party going. Tanya love unity. I will pick up cousins just because. I will have gatherings just because. I will do different things because I enjoy doing it. It's just who I am. But when you have broken people in the family who will rather make sure their image stay placed, and that's the key thing. I want you to know that too, people. Most people that lie on people or try to cause divide or division, as particularly on one person or another, generally because they themselves, they fear that you're going to do to them what they have done to you. Isn't that interesting? The liar that lies on you, the person that betrays on you, the person that has set up so many traps and plots against you, their greatest fear, first and foremost, is that they're going to be exposed. And secondly, that you're going to do back to them what they've done to you. Well, I promise you, I'm not built like that, but I am definitely about that exposure, because at the end of the day, we got too many people around us coming up. There's too many things that's going on. And it's just, when you look back on it, it's most interesting when the person who's been the greatest contributor out of nowhere, Cousin India, becomes now the enemy, becomes the crazy person, becomes whatever theme or whatever narrative that best suits them. Out of nowhere, this person becomes this. This person has a record of doing so many various things for the family. Nothing to ever despise or hurt the family, but to help the family. And out of nowhere, they become this person that is now the person to be questioned, or they're ostracized. You need to figure out why. You need to figure out why. This is the time and season of truth. And then also, I want you to be keen in on your greatest spirit in your mind to recognize truth. When it comes to you, these different accusations, I don't care if 4 or 5 said it. Lies told whatever compartment they're in or however lengthy they're told, a lie is a lie is a lie. A half a truth is a whole lie. Most times, the only thing they got right is your name. Everything that came after that is that. Now, I'm going to tell you where a lot of this began. I tell you, family, let me tell you the real deal. For me and some of the immediate family, cousin Elizabeth, it happened when my book came out. And you're going to see, and I'm going to have some different segments that's going to show, and you'll hear the conversation and the dialogue between us that's beyond the book, that only confirms the book, but they just rather not that it been told. Now, it's most interesting, people pulled out certain things that exposed them, and that's such a bad word to just say expose. My book from cover to cover shared my life experiences. I didn't have to make up absolutely anything. It's my life. I shared I had an abortion. I shared I was molested. I shared I made some bad decisions. But the only thing somebody got was, well, you said, why you said? I said, was it true? Yeah, it was, but you have to share that I did other stuff too. Whoa, 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 whoa. You don't speak for my life and all your selfishness and narcissistic ways. You want me to continually keep and stroke your ego and your image in place at the cost of my life, at the cost of my peace, at the cost of my name. Wow. Never again, folks. Never again. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. We can talk about it. But at the end of the day, I hope that you look at this and you see these messages and don't look at them as just a parade of expressions to pull down any family, because that's not my case. Anyone knows me, that's not the case. But I must tell you too, because dysfunction is in every family. Your family. Oh yes, yours too. From the White House to the crack house, every family has its dysfunction. But if you're called out like myself, and I know I am who I am, sometimes those of you who know it doesn't sit well in your spirit, India. It makes you almost cry in this settlement. Is because you were called to be the disruptor. Who am I called to be? I'm disrupting generational curses. Because I promise you, if my natural grandfather, if the great Thomas McMichael Sr. even thought or knew that we were suffering the way we were, he would have came in immediately and made sure our lights and gas and water was on. My Uncle Pumpkin, AKA Thomas Jr., is the epitome of a man. I promise you when I tell you. If you look in the dictionary and see man, my Uncle Thomas, AKA Pumpkin, my Uncle Roger. And I told you my Uncle Michael came over and brought some kerosene heaters. But if they thought, all of us, and collectively, from the West to the McMichaels, to the Thomas, to the Halls, to the Wilsons, if they knew we had need of this, they would have came on and got it. But you got so many people that would rather keep face, keep image, and let children suffer. For what? Well, we all got sufferings going on. Will we all do it ultimately better together? We ain't got nothing to hide. I went through a situation. My cousin Nate came over. I had a business doing better and looking better than my own particular household situation while merging through a divorce. And Nate stopped what he was doing and brought a sofa over for me. Come on now, people. I had my friends pray for me. Sheila prayed and stopped what she was doing. I didn't even have enough time. I wouldn't even tell my son, who was in college at the time as well, back and forth. I didn't want him to know what was going on at that moment, to keep his mind right and to keep him from getting involved. And because as parents, there are some things we should not do and make and create parentified children. That's different than you having challenges and not causing your immediate friends and relatives that can assist you and keep the kids out of that. I have to tell you, while we have many pros and many great things and things that we're strong in, we too have many weaknesses. My mother and father had a lot going on, and my father wasn't the only one committing affairs and things of nature. My mother was too. And I have to tell you, there are times when a child is questionable and they get treated different. Wonder and know why. My youngest brother, Tony, did not have the experience with my father coming up as Taurus would, even with my father, even though my father was his narcissist, because at that time the affairs came out and Tony was questionable. They will say, some will say coming up that Tony was my favorite. I wouldn't say he was my favorite. He was the baby one, and I had good sense to know what was going on and knew what was going on with the dynamic between my parents. And I watched my father. His discipline for Tony was entirely different than Taurus, because he felt that Tony wasn't his. This stuff goes on, family. It goes on in your family too. And if you know this and you see this, you're a disruptor. What's a disruptor? You're somebody saying, oh no, not on my watch. No, you're not going to hit Tony like that. No, I see you. I see you. This is not going on. No, Lauren is not going to go into no system. No, Lauren's not going to sit by and be failed from school and be just another systematic way of saying that black children and black girls can't make it. No, in fact, by the record too, Lauren stayed on the honor roll when she was at the Mignon. Stayed on the honor roll with her pretty self. Graduated on time. Ralph did not graduate. I know you like to tell you, he went to law school. Ralph, show me papers. Show me the receipts. Ralph did not go to graduation, nor did Ralph graduate from law school of any sort. And no, it's not the truth. And I get it. You all have been entertained. You all if you spend any time with my father or his siblings, you will know they're going to have a good time and they're entertaining. There's a good old song called The Tears of the Clown. And many of us survived differently. My uncle and my aunts and my father from their mother suffered greatly as well from their mother. And their choice was just being entertaining and such. As most people, we all deal with things differently. I chose to just, as best as I can, expose myself to other things, get away, and go among other people that there were healthy landing places. So I needed my, AKA, they call her cousin, but Aunt Dorothy. I needed my Aunt Julia May. Glory to God. When I think about it too, guys, you can't get a hug from Julia May. I promise you, any ailment, if you're suffering right now, I don't care from a headache, a toothache, a footache, go down over to Aunt Julia May's house and get a hug, and I promise you're going to be up instantly. We need it. You want to have some good times and laugh? Go sit with Carla. Ain't no way in the world you can be upset about anything, okay? I tell you, my uncles who I grew up with coming up to, I think back my mom, my maternal mother, grandmother, literally had children at the same time that my mom did. So I have an uncle that he and I are the same age, AKA we call him Joe Nine, but Joseph. And then we have Boo, AKA William McMichael. We grew up, we were like three musketeers in my eyes. I just enjoy. So I had this bit of a tomboyish flair because I too was among more so boys until the girls came along. But at any rate, when my Uncle Boo went away to college, I never forget this. He had went to Des Moines, Iowa. And I always made sure I come by and spend time with them because I didn't want us to be separated. And when he was the first one to go away to college, he sends me a letter and we keep in contact. And I remember this the first time, guys, and I'm going to say this, y'all don't first to know this, I ever cried in my life. I cried in my life about a guy who was my uncle, but it was the fact that he's being separated. So I'm like, I didn't want to be separated from them. So I say that again, we all deal with different dynamics differently. I felt better when I was among my other family, when the stuff that was going on with my parents. My father and all his siblings, each one of them has suffered from some level of drugs, by the way, because a result of things that were undone or not healed in his family. Each one of them. So when you hear these different dynamics and these stories that goes out now and these lies that goes out, my parents, number one, and they're not without their strengths, but they're certainly not without their flaws. I know the other lie that went about our household was just a little bit crazy, but I myself, it brought me to be a great deal independent. So I don't own a house, nor a car, nor books from college, nor that I ever was given a birthday party from either parent. So if those stories go on, let me put out a duo on that one. That never happened. Every college experience I had, from books to classes to whatever the case was, not even a pen or pencil was purchased by either parent. Let's be clear on that. My households, my parents, my father particularly was on drugs back and forth. You show me one drug addict that bought a house while in their situation, I like to meet him or her and have them on my show. And I like to even just say how they did it, because my father didn't do that. But he was able to get delivered through us crying out, fasting, and praying is how that happened. And now sometimes, unfortunately, he gets to the place where he has what I call the dummy attack, and rather talk about everybody else rather than being humble enough to say, I went through this, but I'm here today. And for you all who might have gotten delivered from a issue of sort, a habit of sort, be it drugs, be it drinking, sometimes your greatest drug was just yourself. You were just straight up selfish. And you come to a conclusion, you come to realization, you come to a revelation, you come to some form of healing. Go back and help and tell someone. Well, but don't sit back and pull down someone. Many of you who, like myself, you might have been through some hell. And like our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, yeah, he went down in hell, he came back up. That's what the resurrection was about. And he brought up with all power. He took the sting of death and sin, and he won the victory over it. You got victory. I got victory. I do not or will never, you can't catch me on drugs. My brother Taurus and I, we don't drink nor smoke. Tina and Tony sociably will drink. Tony smokes. But even that, they're nowhere near, we don't look like what we've come through. and they all doing well. My sister has two beautiful children. She's married. She's doing some things well. Tony has doing well, has a great, promising career, very talented and gifted. Taurus is another man's man. That's our man's man. You can't, boy, if they even thought something was going on with me, them boys, they're men. I've been blessed with some great siblings. So why they're not, I'm not suggesting they're not able or capable or may change in time. I've not experienced that. And sometimes what happens with parentified children is this, and I want you to understand this as well, you that are watching. You may have been placed in a position to take the role of your parent undesirably. You get it, and then what goes along with that comes what comes along with parenting. There's this level of honor. There's this level of esteem from those siblings. And that happened with Lee. My natural mother and father did not like that. Do what I ask you to do the work, do everything else, but don't by no means take on my level that I need to have. And that is my praise, my whatever they feel that is. I don't desire that neither. I'm forever the older sister. Don't desire to be nobody else's mother but Calvin A. Thomas. That being said, that caused other dynamics. And for you all that need to be healed in that area, know that that's something you can identify with and begin to work on it to make it better. How do you work on it? First of all, you talk about it. You need to come to a moment to say, this is happening. I've done this. I'm guilty of this. Have some safe people around you. First and foremost, really get therapy. But have that alone time and ask yourself, what have you been doing? What are you thinking? There are some things that if you talk about your brain, the neurologist you can get. You can get someone to deal with nerves and brain. Then there's something you can deal with your mind. You need a psychologist for because your mind had picked up things and not handled things properly. And we're all from different eras. My mother was from an era where everything goes in our house, stays in our house. My father as well. Although his mother was one that went on and knew about everybody else's house and made sure everybody knew about it. Bless her heart. While her own household was going through some nonsense. That being said, why are we talking about it? Because one thing for sure and two for certain, when you bring things out to the light, they have an opportunity to heal.